Welcome to the Feminae Christi Podcast, a labor of universal love in service to restoring the divine feminine principle, spoken through wisdom, eternal love, and devotion to immaculate truth. I'm your host, Salwa, here in sacred devotion to walking this journey with you, not from a place of above or below, but from within. Hi, welcome to the Feminae Christi Podcast, Episode 3. If you're just now tuning in, I invite you to watch from the beginning because this truly is sacred space. It's an energetic container that has been opened with the intention to really build on each episode and give you further energetic transmissions while I'm speaking all the way up to the closing prayer. And you truly will receive more if you're able to understand some of the principles that are getting laid out as we go. So would love to have you listen to this one. If possible, go back to listen to the previous ones and then come back. If you're listening on Spotify, know that you can watch on video through Spotify or on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, know that you can listen on all podcast platforms. So welcome. We're going to get right into it, guys, because so much has been received this week. It has been a monumental week in my work. Not that it's about me, but it's through me. So this has been a week of intense receiving of the massive spiritual revolution that is, I want to say starting, but it's been started. But this is like the precipice of this light versus dark battle being manifest in a way that is going to be so unavoidable for anyone to see. There is going to be no turning the other cheek. It's going to be played out so much in our face, in our world, that even those that don't want to watch news or don't want to interfere with their peace are going to have to make a choice to be aware and understand what's happening so that we can truly rise through it as a collective. So I'm going to start out by saying that in the last episode, yes, I kicked off going into our 7 powers and understanding them more deeply as planetary spheres of descension so that we understand how to navigate them. And I talked about dark and conversation with thing number 2. All those things are important for some principle understandings. On this episode, transmission, whatever we want to call it, gathering, I thought I was going to go to the 2nd sphere. I thought, yeah, did that. It was really well received. Got some great feedback from many of you. Thank you. If you receive, please know that hearing from you means a lot, especially in the public platforms, because then your comments invite the algorithms to be like, hey, there's something good here. Let me put it out there more. So know that as much as I love personal notes, your public comments allow you to be a voice of Feminae Christi and help get it out there in a bigger way. And this is not a one-person job. So know that and use that information how you feel aligns with your soul. No pressure. But anyways, so I had big week, big receiving, had a life-changing light council meeting. Not that they all are not, but this one was beyond. Because it was as if my soul knew that there would be a moment in the path of my lifetime here where it would be time to rise to the forefront of a spiritual battle that I came here for. And not to sound all cryptic, that's not my intention, but I try to only share what serves. And just know that what was received and the understanding that I have received of what is truly happening in our world beyond the story of the physical manifest is big. And with anything that I bring forth, whether it be through podcast, whether it be at sacred space in person with people or sessions, I always make it my heartfelt intention to bring big truths in a way that is not only digestible, but that serves from a place of love. So know that what I'm going to share with you today, even though it might feel heavy, is actually coming from a place of awareness, not fear. So please receive it from a place of awareness, not fear. Meaning that if you receive it from fear and you take it as warning, this is what we're living through, you're going to go into fear. It's not going to serve. And then I'm going to feel bad like I'm the person that put you on fear timeout. I don't want to do that. I want to give you awareness because awareness gives you tools to acquire wisdom. Wisdom gives you tools to acquire truth. Truth acquires freedom. You're here to be a liberated soul. So you have to have the wisdom, but you have to know what is happening enough to be able to put that awareness to wisdom and be free. So let's be free. Let's be free and understand some things. I thought we were going to move on to the 2nd sphere, but my team had other plans. We are still in the darkness sphere. And let me tell you how excited I was to move on from it. I don't love to talk about darkness. I still feel like I want to bring darkness through a lens of hope. And that is not an easy job to do. It's like darkness, but make it fierce. Okay, let's try. But I understand why last time they had me bring up judgment. Judgment was a big one that came up, and I spoke about it to you guys from a way of understanding you as judging others for the most part. What I was made aware of is the importance of helping my peoples being you, anybody that gets a hold of this information, whether now or later, is understanding of Judgment Day and that we are living it. We are living it. Now, I know I shared a reel on Instagram shedding light on this movement of cutting toxic friends out of your life and shedding light on the fact that they're not toxic, they're wounded, and we're not here to further cut into their wounds. We're here to help restore them because we are gearing up for the great restoration. However, what we need to really catch is our own sacred responsibility for our field of resonance and where we might have a state of war in there. And when we are cutting people out, we are essentially creating war within our little sphere of resonance, which amplifies into the world. This is becoming trending and I don't like it. You don't deem yourself worthy and others not worthy and cut them out and name them toxic. They don't take your energy, you are giving it away. So you take the sacred responsibility of understanding, how am I giving my energy away to this situation, to this person? And then you thank them for being this teacher, or you just pour love into them without giving them energy supply, but love and reminder that they have the capacity to rise through their toxicity, but it's not yours and it's not your place to just wipe people out. That is at the root of war. Humans deeming other humans not worthy and deeming themselves worthy to wipe them out. And that is not why we're here. So I talked about that on that reel, just touched on it a little bit here because going to go deeper into Judgment Day that we are living in. And we've heard about Second Coming is a widely talked about topic and everybody has their theory of what that's going to look like. And you better believe I'm going to be speaking on that, but not today. Not today. It is not time to speak on that. They want me to speak on the Judgment Day that we are living in and that we are bringing. The Judgment Day that is coming through us. It's not going to come through Yeshua just landing on the planet in his fierce white robe and sandals and being like, you go to heaven, you go to heaven, like Oprah Winfrey style. And then like, oh, you go to hell. Like, that's not how. It is going to come by way of our Christ principle, bringing it. And in order to really make it through Judgment Day in a way that anchors the Christ principle and the light that we are here to arise, we need to understand what is happening in a deeper way. So, of course, I was not super thrilled to stay in the topic of darkness and go more into judgment because I love sunshine and rainbows. But that's the easy part. Navigating the darkness, especially in times like now, is important because, well, if judgment is the conduit of darkness and we are living in Judgment Day, then we have to be aware enough to know that we are living through some dark times, but not just living through them, we are rising through them. So I want to give you the tools of awareness that can give you hope when certain things show up and can remind you that we are designed to rise through this. And it is our divine inheritance to rise through this. And while things show up to try to push us away from feeling and knowing that, it is what it is. It is what it is. We are here to become Christed beings. We are here to walk the way to rise into that. So, Judgment Day, how are we living it? How are we living these dark, I'm saying dark because we know it's from the planetary sphere of darkness. How are we living Judgment Day and what does it look like? The topic is so vast. And you have to know that when I'm receiving information at my Light Council meeting, it's not really in words. I receive a lot through codes, and the light codes are information downloads. They're so fast that I can't really unfold them into words until I sit with it after. And what I'm going to share with you in this episode is probably like 5% of what I received on this. And I sat with Yeshua and Mother Mary to further understand how and what serves to share here. Why with Mother Mary? Well, she's always been one of my very potent guides. And because I know that she brings things from a divine mother, nurturing, maternal place of love and stern discernment. But don't be scared, my child, because I have you. So that energy, I wanted to always be present. Yeshua, because King, I mean, I don't know how not to constantly have energy exchange with Yeshua and bring information forth through the love of Christ and the love of embodied action and example as the first and foremost teacher. So sat with both of them and said, okay, from all that was received, some of it, which still feels like a lot to carry, a lot of information, a lot of prophecy, it's a lot. What from that can I share on Feminae Christi and it serve and it leave people with hope? Please give me some hope because I'm seeing a lot of turmoil. Please give me some hope. Give the humans hope. Give us hope. Give us peace. Awareness is key. The first thing that I was guided to bring forth is a bigger, better understanding of what consciousness is so that we understand that what we are in is a light versus dark battle for human consciousness. And if we don't know what is at stake, we don't know how to be one step ahead of the darkness when it shows up to try to win that for themselves. Consciousness. Consciousness is of the spirit. Beliefs are of the ego. And at this time, it is important to know the difference. It is important to know that you can be in a room with your brothers and sisters of different belief systems because they grew up in different belief systems. And as they evolve their consciousness to be able to expand those beliefs, they can still embody Christ consciousness if they are living in that light and then that love and in that acceptance. But what is happening right now is the battle for the human consciousness, because as long as the darkness can infiltrate it, Christ consciousness as a collective cannot rise. As a collective. Doesn't mean that individuals can't rise their Christed principle, but we need to be doing this as a collective so that our whole planetary system is tapped into a higher frequency Christic grid that allows our entire planet to rise the seat that it takes in the universal system. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole too much because that doesn't serve. But this does need to be a collective movement, which is why there is going to be more combativeness in the collective, because this is our judgment day of will humanity be able to stand on their own and rise this Christ consciousness, this frequency? Will they be able to? What is consciousness? Consciousness is a measure of our soul intelligence. Our soul is pure. It comes from source, just beingness and the nothingness and the everything all at once. When it is breaking off into emanations to have experiences, it has consciousness as a measure of its soul intelligence. And as the soul is on its journey through incarnations and lifetimes, it is gaining more and more consciousness so that it can remember its way back to the collective of souls closer and closer to source level. Think of it as the car, the vehicle that the soul drives. I know that we think it's our human suit, but I want you to think further. And for now, we're going to not even worry about the human suit. We are going to look at the soul riding the vehicle of consciousness. And the vehicle is meant to be able to do more intelligent navigating for the soul. But that vehicle can also get hijacked. And it's almost like the soul that's meant to be driving it loosens the grip on the wheel a little bit more and more. And as it loosens the grip, because it is not one with its consciousness, darkness can come and take the wheel. And that's not what we want. We want Yeshua to take the wheel. Yeshua, take the wheel. And that is Yeshua through us, through our Christ consciousness, to be able to drive our conscious vehicle to where it is designed to go. So consciousness, it is a gift for our soul to be able to measure and grow and experience its intelligence. And free will is a gift for us to be able to experience our soul and our consciousness working together in actions and hopefully in the highest good. Now, to understand this judgment day and what we are seeing today, we are going to go back to a story that illustrates this. And as you know, we learn through story, we learn through metaphor, we learn through example. So let's go back to the lifetime that taught us so much, which is the lifetime of the crucifixion. This is where you can see Judgment Day exemplified and how. Yeshua the Christ, full embodiment of Christ consciousness, Son of God, walking the earth as Son of Man, showing light in form and showing that this consciousness can exist in the human body, showing that it is possible and showing the way of how it is possible, essentially showing us how to drive. And he came at a time where many were lacking the level of consciousness needed to even so finely attune to his. There was a lot of darkness. There was a lot of perceived power in the wrong hands and a lot of evil doing and a lot of punishment in the name of power that was not real power. There was a lot, but it was a lifetime where Christ consciousness needed to be anchored. Christ did not come to bring a religion or a belief system. He came to expose one. He came to expose what happens when we have religions and we have systems placed for beliefs that are so vast, and we try to let man have law over something that only God is meant to have law over. Only God can enforce the law of God. If man is enforcing it, you know right there is a gatekeeper, and you know right there that it is time to be aware that your consciousness could very much so be hijacked by a belief system that you are wired to. Christ came to expose that and simplify it. He spoke of love. He spoke of peace. He made it so simple because Christ's consciousness is pure consciousness. The teachings of Christ are pure and they're simple, but that's what makes them so powerful, that they are such pure in love, and we don't need to overcomplicate it, and we don't need to be impressive with too much new age talk, because it just comes down to love thy neighbor like yourself. It just comes down to love. But it also comes down to being able to make the most difficult of all choices, which doesn't sound difficult right now when I say it, but trust me, I will give you examples. And that is the choice of love versus fear. That is going to be the biggest choice that is going to be presented to many as we move through Judgment Day. Do you have what it takes? Do you have the Christ consciousness? Do you have the purity of consciousness to choose love over fear, to have unwavering faith in adversity? So let's go back to the lifetime of the crucifixion and Yeshua, who clearly was not a criminal, but was most certainly triggering some because he was speaking with such purity and such consciousness and such inner spiritual authority, which was a gift that is inherently ours that dark forces don't want us to have. That is what he was doing. He was spreading messages of love. He gets brought to Pontius Pilate. Now I want you to look at Pontius Pilate as a teacher of consciousness. Pontius Pilate knew, upon seeing Yeshua and just upon knowing what was being presented to him, that the case was bullshit. He was not guilty. He did nothing wrong. And Pontius Pilate knew that. He had the knowing. He also had the fear that Yeshua was becoming hated by a lot of these people. And if he didn't do something about it, these people would cause havoc. They would cause turmoil. And he also feared that his position of quote unquote power would be at risk if he did not take down this man who he knew was innocent. So right there, Pontius Pilate, illustrating Judgment Day, has to make the choice between knowing, which is love, because knowing and truth are love, and fear. If I don't choose this, this might happen. So of course he tried to dodge that Judgment Day by sending him off. He needs to receive a verdict from Galilee, where he is from, not here, and he sends him to Herod of Antipas, who is a joke. He's a joke of a man in power, and we see a lot of that. And he is mocking Yeshua. He is mocking the consciousness. All he can do is mock that which he cannot receive. Consciousness can only perceive consciousness at the level attained. Yeshua's level of consciousness was not obtainable by many of these people in dark consciousness with positions of power. Mocks him, he sends him back to Pilate. Pilate, once again, faced with the choice, the Judgment Day. Will I make a decision out of knowing, which is essentially truth, which is essentially love, or will I make a decision out of fear? He chose fear. Right there, Pontius Pilate, Judgment Day, illustrates sin. Sin, when you take action out of fear, out of alignment with your truth. He put himself in a state of sin, and now Yeshua is going to die because Pilate, metaphorical guys too, remember, as I say, always receive the story, but see it bigger. Yeshua is going to die because a Judgment Day resulted in a decision of sin. So essentially, yes, he is dying for our sins. That's one example. Another example, we have the very well-known criminal to the entire sea of people watching this. We have Barabbas. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Me and him don't chat, so. Barabbas is a known criminal, and Pilate brings him out as a last attempt to really save himself from having to make a judgment and be in state of sin. He wants to let the people choose. I will free one criminal, as was a Passover tradition. Who do you want me to free? Yeshua or Barabbas, who was a known criminal. And the people chose the criminal. Why? Because their level of consciousness was so not able to perceive the purity and the Christ love of Yeshua. So they right there made a judgment, and now they're all in a state of sin. So we have Pilate, sin, others, sin. Who else? Peter. Peter denying Yeshua 3 times. Why did he do that? It wasn't because of knowing. It wasn't like he did not truly believe that Yeshua was who he said that he was. He proclaimed it. But in times of fear, in times of adversity, that knowing was not unwavering. That knowing showed up, but fear won, and he denied him because he was fearful for his life. Right there, his own judgment day, his own sin, his own suffering that he put on himself. Same thing with Judas. Judas ended up hanging himself because his betrayal, or they perceived that he was doing it to Yeshua, by example, in this whole storyline, showing how those that are in the act of sin are actually just sinning against themselves, which puts you in a state of suffering. Anytime you do not choose your Christ consciousness, you are sinning against yourself. But choosing it takes passing the judgment day with unwavering faith and courage to stand for your knowing, not fear. Why is it important for us to know that? At this time, it's important for us to know that because there are things, we like the word things around here, don't we? There are things, occurrences, wars, even in our own personal life, social life. Look at it as what is happening in my own personal field of resonance. Am I in a constant state of war with Earth family? Am I in a constant state of war with this friend and perceiving them as a problem? Am I in a constant state of choosing fear over love? If I am choosing fear over love, I am in a state of sin and I am creating my own suffering and I am creating my own karma and I am amplifying that to the world. So while we cannot all go and fight in the physical battlegrounds for some of our beloved humans in the trenches suffering right now, we can catch it in our personal field of resonance and start to make a difference and have knowing. But what is going to happen at a grander scale is that because this is a battle of beliefs versus consciousness, even people that perceive to have the same beliefs are going to start going against each other. It's already happening. I see it in the spiritual community. There are people I follow that I am seeing them express such hate because they are not seeing their fellow quote unquote spiritual person share more about the war. And now they're going against each other. There are people boasting about Christianity right now. And you know, my devoted love for Christ, it is why I'm here. It is everything to me. But I know that I don't serve Christ consciousness if I take this as an opportunity to boast about Christianity out in the streets, as opposed to putting my Christ consciousness to work and to serve and to anchor light. Yeshua would not want that. He wasn't out there boasting about Christianity. He was out there spreading the message of love that humanity needed to hear to be able to better understand how they were to live, to rise into this Christ consciousness. He was out there doing the work. True Christ consciousness is shared by way of embodied example, work, action over anything. He was not standing on a rock to be worshipped. He was standing on a rock to give a spiritual discourse that was going to touch many. That is how a Christ serves. Do not fall into the trap where you let Yeshua be your reason for judging others. That is a trap that the darkness loves. Do not let that happen. If you judge others in the name of Christ, you are actually feeding the darkness, the very same darkness that was showing up in that lifetime of the crucifixion, pushing the Christ to deny himself. He was mocked, he was tortured, he was pushed to the point where he would deny who he was, where he would act out of fear instead of love and knowing I know who I am. I am who I said that I am. And he had to say that and speak that in the very court after already being beaten before getting crucified. He could have tapped out. He could have been like, nah, never mind. That's not me. He would have been acting out of fear. He would have been in sin. He would have not been able to anchor and resurrect true Christ consciousness. But now it's our turn to be aware and know when the same shows up. Where are we denying our Christ consciousness because we are letting fear win? And where are we judging others because now we feel so high and almighty in our belief system, and instead of using it as a way to be of more service, We are using it as a way to boast and bring in pride, which ushers in more darkness. Don't judge people in the name of Christ. Don't judge people, period. And do not become a boastful, prideful believer. Instead, become a humble, Christ-like embodiment. That is how we get through Judgment Day. Judgment Day takes our Christ consciousness to another level. It is almost like the trial. We are at the trial. We're winning custody. Remember my last episode, the example I used for how the darkness comes and tries to win custody over the soul? Okay, our consciousness is what is at stake, but that comes through us passing the Judgment Day. The tests that are going to be ushered in by this epoch of judgment are going to want to guide you to make decisions out of fear, because the decisions out of knowing and just pure love are going to either be difficult or we're going to be blindsided. We're going to think that we're doing something out of love, but it's truly out of judgment and pride. Another place that it's important for us to see where we judge our own consciousness. AI. Think about it. If consciousness is the measure of our soul intelligence, and we don't choose it as the intelligence that we turn to for matters of the soul. Let me tell you from example. I know when I'm getting ready to do a session for someone and they have sent me their intention and clarity points from AI. And I'm like, try again. Do not seek soul work if you are not ready to meet it with your Christ consciousness. That is a place where we can delegate to AI admin work or tedious tasks or, look up hotels here or there. But when it comes to your divine intelligence, be so careful that you are not judging your consciousness as less intelligent and asking it to do things that you are meant to be fine-tuning and working on doing yourself, like asking it for prayers. What about your divine intelligence and your connection to the divine? You are living your own Judgment Day if you do that, because you are essentially, I have my knowing, I have my truth, but it feels really hard. I'd rather take the easy route. That's essentially being on the side of fear and ask this thing to give me an invocation, a prayer, or whatever. You already are on your Judgment Day, and you are giving away your intelligence, and you are not rising your Christ consciousness if you do that. So what a beautiful opportunity to say, I have this intelligence here, but how do I let it work for me and not me for it? Okay, these are things that I believe this tool can do for me. These are things that I know at a soul level I am here to evolve and to be able to do myself. We are designed to be able to do things that at our human level right now we can't even comprehend because we're not there yet. But watch how you judge your own intelligence with tools like that. Watch how you judge your consciousness in places where you search for artificial peace. Let's say you had a rough day and maybe you want to go home and pop open a bottle of wine. No shame. I don't want people to not enjoy the pleasures of life. I always say, what's the point of being here if we cannot utilize our free will and discernment in an empowering way to make decisions that we get to enjoy things and also enjoy knowing when we are complete with it without it completing us. So I'm not bashing anybody enjoying a glass of wine, but what I am bringing awareness to is artificial peace. Do you go home and find your peace in something that is actually just numbing you out? That is artificial peace. Artificial peace is not allowing your consciousness to evolve, because if you made a truly conscious decision, you might choose to do a meditation or read a book that helps your particular issue or spend quality time with a loved one. So catch places where you infuse artificial peace. These influencers or people that are telling you to cut toxic people out of your life and to protect your energy, that is artificial peace. Because true peace is here to be attained by way of evolving into our Christ consciousness. You will get so much more peace by having that tough conversation with that one friend or that loved one that you thought you needed to cut out and actually letting that relationship return to love than you will with the artificial peace of just cutting them out and thinking that that takes care of it. Artificial peace is a shortcut. It is essentially spiritual bypassing, because we perceive that the work is too heavy and it is easier to numb out. So catch places where you do that. Catch places where you give away your divine intelligence and you judge your consciousness as not as intelligent as things like AI. But furthermore, catch places where you make decisions out of fear versus love. And if you are making decisions out of fear versus love, you are putting your energy in a state of sin, because we're here to honor love, not fear. Of course, our ego, which is here to protect us, is going to be on the lookout for ways to protect us. And at times we are going to make choices out of fear. And our ego is going to convince us that they are for love or they're for our highest truth. But what Christ came down to show is what it looks like, to like a massive extreme, to continue to choose truth and love and be unwavering in place of adversity. And that choice is what elevates our Christ consciousness. And that Christ consciousness is the divine intelligence that we are here to embody and live. So please understand, not from a place of fear, but a place of awareness, that the events that are happening in our world that are going to continue to happen are here to induce judgment days with self, with our fellow humans, and that we have to continue to make choices out of love and knowing at our heart what is the rightful thing to do, what is our truth, and having awareness of the fear one, and being able to love both, being able to say, I love fear that you are trying to keep me safe by letting me think that those big scary monsters out there are too much and I am safer, quiet, keeping everything in, not putting myself out there. I thank you that I choose love, knowing that that keeps you in alignment with immaculate truth. It keeps you out of a state of your own self-made sin, which is choosing from fear, not love. And it allows your consciousness to evolve. We're going to see people fighting over what even Christianity is. It takes courage to choose truth. It takes courage to choose love. But we've already seen it be done at the face of the highest adversity through Yeshua. And we have seen how it does not end any better for those that make the judgment that puts them in a state of sin and create their own suffering. So today, as we complete our understanding of Judgment Day and how we are living it, I want to also leave you with this knowing. A lot of what is being ushered in through Judgment Day as well as a lot of destruction. And it's so sad and it's so hard to witness and know that it's happening. But in order for the great restoration to come that comes on the other side of Judgment Day, in order for that restoration, that resurrection to really truly rise, we are going to be in witness of things that cannot rise or don't support the rise crumbling. And it is important to just have awareness that in these crumblings, we are going to have Judgment Day manifested in our lives, in our universe, Y-O-U, and in our universe. And to not think of one as less important than the other, because we are responsible for our personal field of resonance and take full responsibility. And if you can do that there, then you can do it at a grander scale. But do not fall into the even witnessing what is happening and then judging how you perceive others should be reacting and what they should be seeing. Instead, witness it, hold space for it, and then say, how can I help? And then anchor your light and check with your own Judgment Day / days. Check with your own personal field of resonance, and if it's in a state of war or peace, and start there, do the work there, and then amplify it to the world. And remember that there is no test that you cannot pass. There is no Judgment Day test that you cannot pass as long as you anchor your consciousness to Christ. Wake up in the morning and let that be your prayer, your ask. May I walk in meticulous divine alignment with the Christ principle I am here to embody. There are so many beautiful gifts on the other side of this, gifts that we are designed to rise into. Why do you think it's happening? And Iran is a predominant one. Iran is located in the third eye chakra of the planet. That is inner knowing. That is spiritual wisdom. That is direct connection. That is Sophia. That is Divine Mother. That is Feminae Christi. That is this restoration of divine feminine Christ principle at its battlegrounds. And it is not easy to know what is happening there to innocent souls. But just know that a lot of these souls volunteer to be here for this great restoration at this time. I have spent so much time, I want to say connecting with them, but not all of them, but a collective of them that volunteer to be here at this time. And there was a particular grouping of some. They were children, and they wanted me to speak peace on that. And I'm like, well, I don't know who you think I know, but I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to speak it here and let you know that if you have family in Iran or in these war zones, to know that at a soul level, they are courageous soul volunteers that volunteer to be here for this great Judgment Day leading to this great restoration. And don't give them pity, give them gratitude, because they have fulfilled their mission. They have fulfilled their mission, and they chose it, and they are getting their kingdom reward on the other side. Don't know why I just had to share that, but they wanted me to. Does not make it okay. It does not make it condonable for what is happening. But know that just as much as they need prayer, so do the ones doing the oppressing. They need prayer to be delivered from evil. They need to be reminded that they are here to walk a Christ path, and they are not being reminded as long as we are condemning them. So how can we tweak the prayer, ask for them? I said this on my Instagram reel, I'll say it again. Think of one of these monsters as an innocent child that got handed a gun and was told, kill or be killed. Right there, their consciousness was in Judgment Day because it was an action out of truth, which would require them to be killed, or fear. I don't want to get killed. Right there, they were sinning against themselves from the start. They were living their own Judgment Day. And right there, they were being separated from their Christ consciousness. And if we cast more judgment on it, we do not help restore that. So take the most radical compassion route that you can, and do not ask for the oppressors to get their way. We ask for them to be delivered from evil so that they can remember the way. So to recap, consciousness. It's a measure of your soul intelligence, and it is something that you are sacredly responsible for attaining on your own. It's been exemplified for us. The path has been walked, and it is our turn to do the same. So consciousness takes sacred responsibility for your soul intelligence. Judgment Day, catch your own personal judgment days and see where you are sinning against yourself by choosing fear over love, and pray. Pray for those whose consciousness have been hijacked, for them to be delivered from evil so that they may remember the way. And then the artificial essences of intelligence and peace. Artificial intelligence. Catch where you are judging your own consciousness, deeming it not as intelligent, and giving the power of what your Christ consciousness should be doing for you and your path to something artificially made where you give away that intelligence. Catch that and restore it to a place of truth and love and not fear, and use it with discernment. Artificial peace. Catch the things, the modalities, the hobbies, the vices that you are entering to create an artificial state of peace, and do the work to create your real peace, because that is the only currency that can truly liberate humanity. Do not get misguided or misdirected to the areas where it is not real. It is the illusion. Do not feed the illusion, feed the truth. And then this Judgment Day will only be a stage prepping for the main event. That is the musical show of Christ consciousness that is going to be played by the symphony that is the body of Christ, which is the people. Let's bring that concert on. All right, I'm going to close this in prayer. I think that's enough for today. Dear Mother, Father God, I ask that everybody listening is able to shed awareness on their own consciousness, that they may know the areas where they can expand further. I ask that there be light shed on areas where potentially they are deceivingly giving away the power of their consciousness, their intelligence, or their peace. I ask for a reclaiming of that so that they can restore it into a balanced Christ principle. I ask for their hearts to be filled with peace as they may face any potential judgment of their outer or inner world. And they can use it as an empowering moment to put the power of their free will to choose love over fear. They may use their consciousness to know how that choice looks in action, and that they may use their faith to know that it is safe to take that action, and that they are being held and risen into their divine Christed principle within. And so it is, in all space and time, I am. Thank you for tuning in to the Feminae Christi Podcast. Your presence here is the greatest gift. If you would like to help grow this movement and help this energetic container reach more people, it is also greatly appreciated for you to share with anybody and everybody that you feel would benefit. Your likes, comments, engagement also help me to better serve you. I would love to know what lands with you, what you want more of. Until next time, go out there and shine that light.